you? What city are you located in?
I'm in Mill Valley.
South San Francisco.
I'm in Mill Valley. What I am right now is in Somerville, where we live.
Jennifer.
Richland, Washington.
Oh, I didn't recognize you. Hello. Maura in Washington and I went to college together. So as we go through here, if you would just, each of you just take a moment to tell me what your goal and motivation was in looking at New Testament Greek. What's kind of driving you? What's the hook?
I like languages, and I'm interested in understanding the Bible better.
I'd be in the same boat. I'm interested in languages, and I've not studied an old ancient language, so I'm interested in taking a look at that.
I want to brush up. I got out my old notes from years ago. I need brushing up, Harry.
Sometimes there's a word in Scripture that you kind of want to know the Greek, or you hear a sermon in which the pastor talks about a certain word in the Greek. So it would be good to be able to, when needed, get more information that the Greek would offer.
Be able to do Bible expositions that have that additional depth there to be able to go to the language. Okay. I do know that in my own life, just having a bare smattering of some other languages, that thoughts are expressed differently. And so that intrigues me to learn about the thought process, if that's a way to say it. I've taken a couple of classes. We had myself and one other guy showed up, so it was me and Katie and Steve,
There you go.
So that lasted a week or two. And
I just want to learn Greek because I want to have like a deeper reading of the Bible, and maybe if I pick up enough on it, move on to other things like writings from the apostolic fathers.
The first time I took the course, I took it because I want to be able to read the Bible better and be able to pick out words and look at them in the Greek and get the meaning. This is now the second time I've been, this is the second time, so it's kind of like a review for me. But
this is indeed an introductory course to what I call Biblical Greek. Its formal name is Koine, which just means common. And this was the language that you would use so that you could buy and sell goods around the Mediterranean basin. And it was, parts of it almost feels like pidgin English, as you know, just enough to get by. It would not be classical Greek, and it certainly would not be modern Greek. I'm told that there might be a Greek speaker who will join us, but it'll be modern Greek and it'll drive them crazy. So I want to make it right away that this is 2,000 years old. Many of you may have seen the movie called My Big Fat Greek Wedding. Yes? Okay. The opening 5 minutes of that is well worth your time to go replay that, because it's just a wonderful introduction to Greek thinking and Greek behaviors. It's modern Greek, but as he tries to, the theme throughout the movie is the dad in the show is constantly saying, oh, well, that word came from Greek, and then he proceeds to show it. And they just have all sorts of wonderful tidbits there. The rest of the movie is fun, but this, I would show it, but I don't have the copyright to put it on YouTube, so you'll just have to go watch My Big Fat Greek Wedding on your own.
Apparently, according to him, kimono came from Greek.
Yes.
Don't necessarily take everything he says.
Kheimona. Yeah, kheimona. Yeah. Emera means winter. What do you wear in the winter? Kheimon. Yeah. So there you are. It's in Greek. My own personal interest was self-preservation, because I was attending a liberal denomination And I disliked it when the seminary students would count me with offering some spurious position with authority saying, the Greek says, and I couldn't answer. I didn't know any Greek. So, obviously, but inwardly my gut was saying, something's amiss here. And so we will cover some of those, especially some words that can have some variant meanings. I soon, in my own, let me back up. I did go to Fuller Theological Seminary for 3 quarters of Greek, and that was my real motivation. To go to seminary was to become an educated layperson, not to become a pastor, but to enhance my teaching ability. I soon discovered that the Greek, even among the latest archaeological finds, supported the unencumbered reading of most English Bibles. The real crux tended to be from what worldview, bias, or intent affected your interpretation. Ronald Hendrell, he wrote this comment in the Biblical Archaeological Review. It's called Biblical Scholarship at Risk. He says, biblical scholarship can be tedious and exacting work. It is often controversial. For instance, in 1516, when Erasmus published the first critical edition of the New Testament and argued for the need to learn biblical languages, that would be Greek and Hebrew and Aramaic, to understand the Bible, he was called everything from an arch heretic to the Antichrist. One of his critics wrote, "We do not need knowledge of foreign languages for an understanding of the Holy Writ, and for this reason it is vain and frivolous to spend time on learning them. It is completely insane and smacks of heresy." So that was in the 1500s. We have not changed much, I'm afraid. Although in the 1700s, most seminaries, most colleges, even if you weren't going to become a pastor, you learned Latin, you learned Greek, and you learned Hebrew. It was just part of your advanced education. Nowadays, hardly anyone knows those languages. And so he continues, at the University of California, Berkeley, where I teach, I carefully explain to the students that modern biblical scholarship is different from speech about the Bible in churches and synagogues. It is a context where critical analysis, that is, historical linguistic study using the original languages, rather than affirmations of faith or religious apologetics, is the standard. So he says at University of California, Berkeley, the academics trump the faith. In the seminaries, faith trumps the academics. It is a delicate art since it challenges many unexamined assumptions. Even in the 1500s, when the coming of the printing press, Middle Ages Roman Catholic leaders decried granting access to the Bible to non-clergy. They correctly foresaw that the explosion they foresaw the explosion of challenges in their understanding of orthodoxy. If an individual could read the Bible first in their mother tongue or in the original languages, they might create their own concepts of orthodoxy. And while the leaders feared wild interpretations by us commoners, the real threat came from the educated professors who wielded the banner of authority for doctrines that were contrary to Rome. So in the 1500s, one side's heresy became the other side's orthodoxy. And the main protesting leaders, hence Protestant, were hostile to one another. They could not reach agreement as to what is orthodox among themselves. So now today we have 300 denominational families, each which claim key academic leaders and a mantle of orthodoxy to the exclusion of all the others. And so if you have 300 sets of people saying, I'm right, what do you do? And that's why we're having this class, is so that you have a fighting chance to look and be like the Bereans in the book of Acts, to look into the scriptures to see if these things are so. So this 20-hour class will not resolve 500 years of differences. It will give you the basic skills to examine the Greek text on your own, but not enough to create your own denomination. Contrary to what Dr. Hendel said, that what I find in the Greek New Testament greatly encourages a worldview that gives me high trust and high confidence in the text, the biblical text that we have today. Confidence factor, so I'm saying 98 to 99% that what we have in the Greek manuscript is so assured that it's as close to what they call the original autograph, that it's going to be very minor tweaks or shades of meaning that will vary. And indeed, people do have those shades of meaning. So I'm going to say that when you get your hands on this Greek New Testament, you should feel greatly encouraged that you have a reliable document. So that's it for the interpretation side of it. Now I want to talk about actually learning the language. Everything learned typically comes from by hearing. So we start learning biblical Greek by hearing these words. And as several of you said, you've heard Greek words from the pulpit. Kent, for instance, would throw a Greek word out there in the middle of a sermon. My pastor would do the very same thing. And so we get attuned to say, oh, hey, I've heard that Greek word. That's the only word I know, but I know that Greek word. Rather than being overly skeptical of the Bible, which is known as higher criticism, that's a field of study, I have concluded that the Bible is as much as critical of us, so as we are of it. So I'm going to pay attention to what the Bible has to say. In order to do that, I need to be able to affirm one way or the other with my own reading what is in the text.